Welcome back to Seek Strength. In today's episode of the Sikhistan National Broadcasting Agency, we're looking at Larry Wheel's mock meet. So Larry has been kind of doing this campaign, media campaign of his like TRT versus like full blasting, and so accumulated into a mock competition where he's just taking TRT. There's been a little bit of controversy. I want to say a little bit. All of his comments are pretty aggressively negative towards him, except in this video, but a lot of his Instagram comments are quite negative. People have been speculating that he has been taking TRT. He's associated with a hormonal clinic, and he's just doing this to show that TRT can be very good. So Larry, he is doing a training meet in one of the gyms in Dubai. And first of all, just before we get watching the video, I originally thought Larry was on less for his TRT. So I thought in one of the videos he said 125, but he's actually on 175. Now, 75 milligrams per week. In general, you'll see that most TRT kind of ranges between like 80 to 100. 175 is what Project Trave is coined as sports TRT.
Yeah. It's like TRT with a little dash.
Yeah, it's
know?
like
it's what like an iced frappuccino would be to a standard cup of coffee.
So let's leave the video running while we're talking about this. So Larry's warming up for his squats here. The problem with the TRT versus sports TRT versus natty is that sports TRT is like cycle light. It's like Bud Light. It's technically a cycle, you know. It's not a very productive cycle for Larry, but it's certainly a meaningful cycle no matter what way you look at this.
See, the big thing is for most people watching this content, most people following along with Larry, the idea that TRT is in some way like kind of just therapeutic dosages or that it would make no difference. For most people in the world, if they took 170 milligrams of testosterone per week, they would feel amazing.
But you'd also see very productive gains in the gym.
Yeah.
If you're on 175 all year round, you would see significant improvements.
It would be very performance enhancing.
See, the thing as well is that even if you were taking just actual clinical TRT, you know, you will still have benefits. First of all, what you'll usually see with people's TRT when their blood results, you'll see them closer to that 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. Now, the really important thing about that is that it's not just 1,000 nanograms per deciliter at a couple of points throughout the week and certain peak times throughout the day. It's just 1,000 nanograms per deciliter every single day, baby. So it's all day, all the fucking time. So you, instead of these peaks and troughs and changes in hormones, we just get this constant raising in anabolic signaling. And over time, we'd start to see this deviation in performance versus a natural versus someone who is on TRT, even if that natural person had very high levels of testosterone baloney.
So I think there's a few things. Firstly, in terms of people saying like, oh, he's not on TRT, he's definitely taking other stuff. I don't really believe that. I definitely think the numbers he hit at this meet are impressive. But when you look at the drop in body weight, these numbers in comparison to his old numbers, and also how consistent his training is, these numbers are definitely doable with 175 milligrams of testosterone a week.
Like his performance looks like it's consistent.
Absolutely.
With people who are taking sports TRT or TRT from his all time. So we just saw a squat there. We're not finished the squats just yet. Okay, so we're just popping. Let's pop over to our final squat here. So this is an ad for Whoop. Whoop have an ad that says, Larry made a very funny joke. He said, it's like having a scientist on your wrist at all times. But if you know a scientist, you'll know you don't want them on your wrist at all times. Okay, 330 kilos. I love the graphics.
Yeah, very, very nice editing. So yeah, 330 kilos. For Larry back in his heyday, 333 kilos wasn't even a stop as he warmed up.
Set at 10.
Yeah.
Set at 10, I would say. So we have 410, I think, is his best squat on. So Larry's comparing these to his mock meet or his comp best, which I actually think isn't really fair because this is just a training. This is not a training max, you know?
Yeah.
If you compare it to his best training lifts on his Instagram, I think it's 410 that we have as his best squat.
410 kilos for a single?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think a lot of people will look at these numbers and say like, oh, these numbers are so incredibly high. There's no way you just do these numbers on TRT. You really have to remember the incredible numbers Larry has done before. Like that doesn't go away. There's reasons people will get a lifetime ban from sport when they get their second positive drug test. And it's because those positive benefits really don't go away, you know? Like, you'll be holding on to those positive benefits possibly for the next 30 or 40 years in terms of your muscle mass. And you can't look past that, you know? Like, he is on TRT or sports TRT or whatever you want to refer to it. He's on reduced amounts of performance-enhancing drugs. But due to the fact that he's been so incredibly strong, one of the strongest humans in the world previously, it really doesn't... You can't ever compare yourself to this.
What do you mean? Like, that they compare themselves? That they would...
Yeah, like, people will be talking about, like, oh, I've seen the comments where, like, oh, I've run crazy cycles and my numbers have been nowhere near this, you know?
Sorry, yes.
So, granted, for most people, if they ran these numbers of drugs, the numbers would not be this. You would not do this. But Larry has run far more drugs in the past. Mm-hmm. He's been one of the strongest humans in the world in the past. And now he's just kind of titrated those amounts down. But he's still the incredibly strong human he was before.
But I don't think... I like Larry and I like what he's doing. He's been very... I do like that he's just saying what he's doing, you know. It's people are kind of attacking him for no reason. People are giving out for so long. Like, Liver King was like the accumulation of this, giving out that people aren't transparent. And when Larry is telling people what he's doing, and I do believe he's taken that 175, that, look, it's not actually TRT, it's sports TRT. It's a small cycle, or it's a lower dose cycle. But he's telling people what he's doing, and I think he's telling the truth looking at this. You know, there's no reason anyone should be in any way annoyed at him, you know.
No. And the other thing is, Larry, when he was doing his big, crazy, strong cycles... had multiple videos up where he explained exactly what he was taking. Like, he was very, very transparent all along, you know.
So this is his 394 in comp. So the body weight, the heaviest he was, I think, was 300 pounds, so 136 kilos, and he was down now at this mock meet in training at 109. So a lot of people, in fairness, are congratulating him, are saying, you know, he looks so much healthier, which he does.
Yeah.
He sees that himself.
The face is the place you really, really see it in Larry.
Yeah, the water retention.
Yeah. Even just like on exertion, like those eyes popping out and stuff, you know.
So at 220 here, he's warming up. Well, obviously Larry's an incredible bencher. So best was beyond the 100, the training lift he has? So we'll look at his best lifts after in training. He hasn't pinned in his Instagram, but we'll just watch this for a second. So that was 220. He's still absolutely enormous. I think it's probably... There's been some bodybuilders, I think Chris Bumstead, for example, was someone who recently said that they just do a sports TRT to maintain the muscle. And a lot of people doubted him, but it's you can maintain a lot of that because the satellite cell differentiation, the amount of retention you get from that, it doesn't go away. That's one of the reasons that for a period of time WADA implemented those lifetime bans. It was subsequently deemed to be unethical to ban an athlete for life, but the scientific consensus behind it was that you have technically obtained an unfair advantage permanently, so you should get a lifetime ban. In reality, you don't really see it meaningfully manifesting in performance so much. Like if Larry came off everything, he'd be at, or probably less than his numbers for a long time, and it'd take him a long time to get back there. Same with most athletes, you know. So it's an interesting conundrum, but scientifically, you do never lose those benefits. But he's still enormous here, you know. One
thing I really like here is that Larry seems to be moving just as well, if not better, technically, than he was previously.
Still no ankle flexion, still no dorsal flexion.
No, but a lot of the time when you see athletes dropping a lot of body weight or coming off drugs and trying to hit heavier weights, the second time or the third time, we've seen it with weightlifters, we've seen it with powerlifters, their technique usually looks terrible afterwards.
Ilya is a good example of that.
Yeah. And Larry is a great example of someone who looks great. Mm-hmm. Like his squats look great, his pressing looks great, his deadlift looks great.
I have to say deadlift doesn't look as
juicy.
Not as juicy. So we saw him top out at 230 there for his mock meet, and the size of Larry's hands. So this is his best competition bench coming up here. So we have 292.6 kilos at 282 body weight. So like we're looking at, depending which lift you took, 70 to 100 or more kilos on each of the lifts so far. On the squat and the bench. Fucking hell, the size front to back laterally is incredible. So this is a similar body weight as 260.
I do think one thing that's worth mentioning is the body weight change, you know. Like, I'd like to see what Larry would do now if he was on sports CRT, trying to get back up to that weight.
At 300 pounds?
300 pounds,
130 odd kilos, yeah.
You know, like, that's a significant difference. 25 kilo difference or 20 kilo difference in body weight. That would make a massive difference to his lift.
If we look at someone who's incredibly strong as well and vastly more jacked than the average person on TRT, Stan Efferding talked about the last number of years he's just does TRT. He actually said one time in a bit of Sonazolol if he's doing a photo shoot, but he said other than that he just does TRT. I think he said he uses cream, but he's maintaining enormous physique.
Crazy.
And strength, because again he's done so much before, trained so hard before, that maintaining, you know, you put in 10% of the effort to maintain 90% of the work that you put in.
When you look at Stan as well, like, Stan is still putting out very high level strength numbers.
Yes.
Even as somebody, is he in his 50s now at this point?
Yeah, he's in his 50s, yeah.
Like, incredible levels of output.
So the deadlift here, his hips are a lot higher, and I think he's got less of that leg drive, you know. He's got less of the power.
Yeah.
He's putting a lot of his back into compared to it, which is interesting. So his hips look a lot higher than when he was full bone Larry Big. No matter what way you fold it, he's a very impressive human being.
Yeah, the deadlift is always so fast. Or his deadlift is always so fast.
So here's 310. Powerlifters make jumps that don't make any sense.
No.
So 300, 310, and next up he's going 330 kilos. That's just with the magic of editing.
Is this his second attempt?
This is second attempt. I think he's on so 330 kilos. He even said in this he didn't do any
Ready
caffeine.
in his Mario Kart.
330, not a bother. Just the initial drive off the floor.
Yeah.
I wonder if he did drop his hips a little bit, I think he'd see the initial drive off the floor better because he'd have more legs. Now he's going 350 kilos. This is his final attempt. And here's an ad. Fucking ads.
Need an ad blocker.
350 kilos in desert barbell. Go on.
Nice.
360 looks like it was there.
Yeah.
Now, so that's 300. What did I say? 350. So if we go to his best in deadlift, best in comp, best in dressage, 387 at 282. But we'll have a look there. Jesus, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, he's in crazy shape now, but the difference is.
Yeah. And that's like freakish alien level of jacked.
Yeah. So this is similar body weight. So again, like the similar body weight on a load of gear, obviously. No, it doesn't. No one thinks that's like the same thing. Like, that's not a comparison. But so if we just have a little look at his best lifts on his Instagram, so he's kind of best training lifts, and I do think it is fair to compare it to his best training lifts because that's a training meet, you know. So here's 410. So yeah, that was the squat I was talking about. So 410 kilos training lift. 410 kilos. We saw him,
insane.
What do we see him squat there? 320 kilos. Benching here, 307. Sorry, I said 407. 307.
Insane.
We saw him bench 230, 307. You know,
Yeah.
so. And here's 422 kilos for 3 reps compared to. I know it's with straps compared to his mock meat deadlift, but just to give you an idea.
Of just how much of a horse he was.
And is.
Yeah.
But I think looking at this, like, I do believe Larry, like, is actually on that 175. I don't think he's taking anything else. It all makes sense. Like, that's
Absolutely, yeah.
easily 100 kilos off each of the lifts.
Yeah.
Which is very significant when you look at other people who've done it, both, you know, online and other people we know in person. You know, obviously the straps make a bit of a difference for the deadlift, and the body weight loss is incredibly significant. It generally looks like someone who's taken 175, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing that he did, you know. It's interesting that he showed people that.
You know what I would like to see is his difference in training, between when he was yoked
Yes.
versus when he's on TRT. Like, does he have to be more sensible? Is he reducing overall volume? Does his intensity increase a little bit slower? You know,
You do see there's a lot less aggro against the barbell, I think, is one of the big things. So he did document a lot of his training, and he's a 2.63 million subscribers, you know, so he documents his training. But it'd be interesting to see on paper and stuff, like the actual the changes compared to the then versus now. My only gripe with this is it's not TRT at all, and it's, you know, but he's never saying anything like, oh, this is what I would have done, that, anything like that. So I don't think they're fair aggro from people, but it's sports TRT.
Yeah.
And I think he's telling the truth about sports TRT, and I think it's quite impressive. I think it's an interesting thing to just an interesting video to look at to see the differences, because whatever we shake it, everyone watching this and everyone watching Larry's stuff is interested in performance, and we all know PEDs make a huge difference in performance. So it's very interesting to see that difference. You know, there's no shame and there's no gimmick in this.
No.
I know there's a bit of a gimmick. He's associated with a hormone clinic or whatever, but still, I think it's
super interesting.
Yeah, I do.
That's what I think. Being able to go back and watch and see what it was like prior and what it is like now, and as well, like, it's a great case study for, like, as the years go on, will the physique deteriorate more, or will 175 milligrams be enough to maintain it for a long, long time? If Stan is a good kind of case study of this, it would appear as though that's maintainable forever.
I think one of the most interesting things about this is that we would have never seen this before. You know, if we look at people like Ed Cohen or any of the kind of 80s, 90s and 2000s, like if we look at like Elite FDS or whatever, they never really alluded to taking drugs, and they certainly never alluded to what they were taking.
No.
Mark Bell is the only person who talked about it, and he just said he didn't even know what he was taking. It was he said was it a syringe on each shoulder? Was it every day or twice a week or something like that? He said he didn't even know. He just took as much drugs as possible, and I don't think he's lying in that regard, you know. But what I think is really interesting about Larry as well is Larry's the freakiest of freaks.
Yeah.
So to see you're getting the far end of the spectrum, and we're seeing the most drastic change.
Yeah.
For everyone else, would kind of muddy the water a little bit. I think this is like a really clear sample of something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like the fact that he's such a freak, it's like a really clean look at it. Not what I'd do for anyone, it's just in a case, if that makes sense.
For me, it's like when you read the published case studies, and it's like a Olympic sprinter recovery from ACL tear.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, this is really interesting, but it really doesn't apply to me.
No, but it is an interesting case.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I think what is very interesting about this is the kind of aggro he's still getting for talking about drugs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is the aggro Larry Liver King was getting for not talking about it when it came out, you know. So it's you can't please everyone, but
what it really shows you is that the internet is full of aggro, and everyone's going to get it no matter what they do.
Not from our side. We're not giving them aggro. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video.